In a state of hyper growth, what is the best way to act? Share your experiences with us.
Strange though it may sound, when there is hyper growth and change, that's the word that came to my mind, change, you need to be totally connected to your own core. So you need to have great clarity on purpose and meaning for the organization and for yourself. Who am I? Or what is the organization all about? Strange though it may sound, I would say the most important thing in a situation like this is to be clear about who I am as an organization and as a person. Be connected with that, and that gives you the energy and the strength to meet and take advantage of change and opportunity. So you need to know who you are, you need to know what the purpose is of the organization and of yourself, and the connection between the two. That's what drives people.
I mean, now it's almost commonplace to be going global. Now, when everybody wants to do it, it obviously comes with its problems. What are the sets of problems, particularly in a global environment, which perhaps impedes growth in a hypermarket?
Yeah, Chetan, I think this is topical and timely in terms of globalization, because not only the big companies that are globalizing from India, and they have a set of problems which we can dwell upon. But I think what's more interesting is how many small companies which you haven't heard names of are globalizing. So you can imagine what problems and what challenges they will have as they globalize. So I think one thing that's really important is to have a strategy, to have a plan, and to then stick to that plan. And from an HR perspective, I think many businesses do have a globalization strategy, but what they're missing is what's their corresponding HR strategy. It's very important to be able to manage existing leaders, because if you make an acquisition, you're acquiring physical asset, but you're also acquiring human capital.
There are 2 or 3 aspects which we need to bear in mind, especially when you are in hypergrowth. There are a lot of advantages, there are pitfalls. I think if you don't recognize the pitfalls, you're bound to perish and not to perform. As for example, the planning is very important. I think sometimes when you are in a hurry to compete with others, or try to show some figures, or try to say that you are outbeat in the market and the competitors, you tend to take some shortcuts. I think the quality aspects of it, which you try to compromise, both in terms of products as well as people, and secondly, lack of planning. You think you've succeeded well in a small scale, but when you're doing in a hyper-growth markets, the scales are very different. So there's no one-size-fits-all in the hyper-growth markets. I think it's a challenge which you need to keep on reevaluating at every stage, and you need to embrace the change.
In a situation of competitiveness, we perhaps push the button a little too hard, which can be counterproductive, and maybe the pitfall of a hyper-growth phase.
The organization had only seen growth year after year. It used to be in triple digits for some years, followed by very high double digits in 70s and 80s. And when it dropped, we suddenly found that the star managers, they had not had any experience of dealing with crisis. We took a hard call saying that we would sift, I wouldn't say men from the boys, but I would say do the right stuff. And importantly, identify 3 tracks that need to be done. One is, we said that people who would unlearn the quickest would be on number 1 on our agenda. Second was people who would actually voluntarily seek others out and would be happy to get their perspective and help. The third one was of fantastic collaboration, that they would vice versa happy to participate in a series of things that would go on. Taking a cue from what we were doing and what we were witnessing in telecom, we decided that we will not go fast 3 years ago. And we said we will remain, even if the industry calls us a laggard, we will remain a laggard. But what we will do is we will get it right the first time.
Now, Mercer's Future of Talent Management Survey of July 2010 spoke of 4 challenges, and we call it the 4G spectrum: get, grow, guard, and give. Rajiv Dubey, which is most important for you and why?
I think that all 4 need to be done, and I think it would be very dangerous to try and focus on just one. You've got to create a culture, and you've got to create the space where people can and feel that they can make a difference.
I think the problem is what Rajiv said. I totally agree. You may have plenty of talent, but how do you unleash the talent? I think how do you give that finishing touches to them to make them employable, make them confident.
Training, in one word, training is
to make them employable, give them that confidence. I think, you know, if you focus on that, I think it's a matter of time. I think what you see today as a talent crunch may not be there to the extent what we are foreseeing. That's my view.